Previously on parts 1 through 4 of our Jeep Grand Cherokee project. 3 years ago, we purchased a completely stock 1994 Jeep Grand Cherokee. With the 5.2 engine and fairly low miles, this thing has proven to be both a great daily driver as well as a weekend trail rig. Over the last 4 episodes, we've added numerous modifications, including a 3.5-inch lift, 31-inch tires, a new transfer case, drive lines, hood louvers, skid plates, and so much more. Under the hood, we've been through new computers, new fuel injectors, and countless other sensors, working to make the vehicle more reliable. On today's episode, we continue the project as we work on mostly cosmetic upgrades, but also work to add some useful trail communication tools. We'll change out the stock fuel door for a new, more aggressive fuel bezel, add a complete CB radio setup, and, most importantly, repaint all of those ugly old faded gray plastic panels. So, to start things off, we'll begin with the new TJ gas bezel install, which consists of taking a Jeep TJ, which is the 97 through 06, fuel bezel, and custom fitting it to the ZJ. Now, this mod is strictly a cosmetic upgrade and has no real practical application, but it looks pretty darn cool and helps your Jeep stand out from every other Jeep Grand Cherokee on the road. The process requires going into the left rear quarter panel and pulling off the factory fuel door. The door comes off with a few screws and can be set aside in your spare parts pile. Next up, you'll need to remove the fuel filler neck screws. Test fit the new fuel bezel. You'll have to create some sort of spacer, which we use plastic spacers in our case, to move the filler neck off the body of the vehicle. Plug the filler neck with the shop towel and drill in new mounting holes to the filler neck so that everything will mount up properly. Once you are done, simply screw everything back together, using your new spacers of course, and top off the project with a locking gas cap, and you are done. This is a pretty straightforward mod that takes roughly an hour or 2 to do, but really is a nice upgrade to the ZJ's look. Next up, the CB radio. While other handheld radios are replacing the CBs nowadays, we figured we would go ahead and install a CB anyway to be used out on the trail, highways, and in emergency situations. The complete CB setup requires numerous components, including an actual radio unit, CB radio cable, antenna mounts, and of course the antenna. For this, we decided to go with the Uniden 510XL for the radio unit, 12-foot cable, a 2-foot fire stick antenna with tunable tip, and a heavy-duty spring and mount to hold everything up on the roof. To begin the install, start by installing the radio unit somewhere inside the vehicle. We decided to mount ours on the passenger side just below the glove box, which is still within reach of the driver but fairly out of the way for both the driver and the passenger. To get the radio wired up will require quite a bit of work. You'll need to run wires from the battery to the radio itself so that it can have power. Next up, you'll need to run the cable from the radio unit to the antenna location, which for us required pulling the roof liner and every single passenger side plastic panel. We decided to mount our antenna on the right rear of the roof. For the best reception, remember you want to mount your antenna as high as you possibly can off the roofline of the vehicle. To mount the antenna, we created a custom mount off of the roof rack using a few bolts and pieces of metal laying around. Mount up the antenna, making sure that everything is properly isolated from the roof. Otherwise, nothing will work. For the best reception, you really need your antenna properly isolated from all of the grounds. Otherwise, you won't get much on your radio. When you are done with all that, hook everything up and you should be good to go. To get the most out of the CB, we ended up taking the Jeep to a radio tuner where we got the radio professionally tuned and worked out some other kinks in our setup to get the most out of the CB. Now, we can listen in to trail chatter and communicate with each other and or other group members on all of our trips. That's right. It's time to address these ugly, faded plastics all the way around the Jeep, the bumpers. Everything is going to get painted in this truck bed liner today. Now, I've done some research on what the best solution is to restore these plastics, and one of the options I was considering was the Back to Black. It's a sort of rub-on wax that helps to restore the plastics back to the factory specs. But some of the reviews I read online is that they don't really last for long and they need to be reapplied all the time. So that's where I'm hoping this bed liner is a more long-term solution that will really help make the Jeep look a lot better and help it to stand out from all the other old Jeeps on the road. So today we are going to be painting everything. We'll be taping it off, painting it, and we'll see how this holds up, you know. I've heard mixed reviews how it reacts in the sunshine, and of course we live here in Arizona where it is sunny 363 days out of the year. So we will check back as things progress, if this works, if it doesn't work. But either way, it is time to cue the music and begin the epic Jeep painting time lapse. Let's go. Alright, so we're moving on to the back part of the bumper now. Got everything taped off, ready to go, and actually ended up having to go get one more can of bed liner because the 4 that I got originally wasn't going to be quite enough. So got that, got everything taped off. A lot of really intricate stuff going on back here. Got the tailgate, all these lights and the bumper lines, and then the trailer hitch and exhaust. So really got to take your time going through it, making sure everything is taped off. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and paint this up. This is the last part, and we'll see how it turns out. Alright, so that's it. Looking pretty good, if I do say so myself. So all in all, I used about 5 cans of the truck bed liner, about $8 a can. So you know, you figure dropping $40 on completely restoring your panels here and your bumpers. So far really happy with the result. Have a nice textured finish to them. Looks really good. Looks a lot different than the ugly faded gray that's been on there for so many years. So yeah, we'll see how it holds up, and definitely a big fan of this mod so far. Right, actually I paint this panel because once I added it back on, it doesn't look so good with the faded gray. So if anything, that'll be the last touch-ups, but this is the latest modification looks really good. I'm a big fan. We will see how it holds up in the Arizona sun, through the dust, through the mud, everything we put this Jeep through. Alright, so I went ahead and resprayed the back bumper. That lip just wasn't quite looking good enough for me. So sprayed it and just about used the end of my 5th can. So if you are going to plan on doing any touch-ups, might be a good idea to have a backup can, but you can always go to Lowe's, Walmart, whatever, and buy one. They are cheap enough. And yeah, for any touch-ups you need. So again, really liking the way it looked, and really happy I decided to restore the bumpers with the truck bed liner. I think it gives it a really aggressive look, helps make it look a little bit like new, and help stand out from all the other Jeeps on the roads. So that concludes another part of the Jeep Grand Cherokee project series. The Jeep as it sits right now is pretty dialed in. It looks great, it drives smooth, and it does a fantastic job out on the trail. But we do have some other upgrades in mind for the future. But until then, remember we do have 4 other parts starting at the very beginning of our modifications to this Jeep. So you can go back and watch all that and get caught up on the project. Also, be sure to check out our new ZJ project page over on our website at azoffroad.net/ZJ-project. There you can find complete write-ups with in-depth pictures and find out what components and tools are needed for each of the upgrades we've done to the Jeep thus far. So, until we break something or buy more Jeep parts, we will see you on the next Jeep Grand Cherokee video.